Love X Revenge. This is a fictional story created for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. He had everything money could buy, yet every evening ended the same way: a table for one, a pristine white cloth, and silence thick enough to taste. Alexander Crow was a man whose name opened doors without knocking. Hotels bent rules for him. Chefs stepped out of kitchens to shake his hand. Investors waited weeks just to hear him say yes or no. But when night fell and hunger arrived, he always dined alone. The restaurant was one of the city's quiet legends, hidden on a side street, known only to those who didn't need menus with pictures. Alexander came every Thursday at precisely 8. Same table by the window. Same glass of mineral water. Same measured nod to the staff. He never looked around long enough for anyone to mistake him for lonely. Except the waitress. Her name was Clara. She was new, replacing someone who had quit mid-shift after crying in the storage room. Clara had soft eyes sharpened by life, the kind that noticed things others missed. The first time she served Alexander, she almost forgot to breathe. Not because of his wealth, she didn't care about that, but because of the way he sat, straight-backed, hands folded, as if waiting for judgment. She placed the menu down. "Good evening, sir." "Good evening," he replied, voice calm, distant. She took his order, already knowing what he'd choose. Everyone knew. As she walked away, she glanced back. He hadn't opened the menu. Over the next few weeks, Clara learned the rhythm of his solitude. He arrived alone and left alone. He never answered his phone at the table. He never smiled at jokes from neighboring diners. He tipped generously, almost apologetically, as if paying rent for the space he occupied in the world. Other waiters whispered, "Billionaire, widower, cold, arrogant." Clara didn't join in. She watched. One evening, she noticed his hands trembling slightly as he cut into his steak. Another night, she saw him stare at an empty chair across from him for far too long. Once, she caught a flicker of pain cross his face when a couple laughed nearby, sharing dessert with 2 spoons. That night, something in her shifted. When she returned with his check, she hesitated. This wasn't part of the job. It wasn't safe. But it felt necessary. "Sir," she said quietly, her voice barely above the clink of silverware. He looked up, surprised. Most people didn't interrupt his thoughts. "Yes," she swallowed. "May I say something personal?" He studied her face, expecting flattery or curiosity. He found neither, just sincerity. "You may," he said. She took a breath and said the words that would change everything. "You don't eat like someone who enjoys food. You eat like someone who's waiting for something that never arrives." Silence fell between them, heavy and dangerous. For a moment, Alexander felt exposed, stripped bare under restaurant lights. No one had ever spoken to him like that. People admired him, feared him, used him, but no one saw him. "That's an unusual observation," he said carefully. Clara nodded. "I know. I'm sorry if it was out of line." He should have dismissed her. He should have paid and left. Instead, he asked, "And what do you think I'm waiting for?" She didn't answer immediately. "Someone," she said at last. "Or maybe yourself." Something inside him cracked. After that night, Alexander didn't stop coming. But things changed. Clara became his regular server. They exchanged small words at first, about the weather, the chef's mood, the city's noise. Slowly, conversations deepened. She spoke about her mother, sick and stubborn. About nights working double shifts to pay hospital bills. About dreams she no longer dared to dream. He spoke less, but when he did, his words carried weight. He talked about building an empire from nothing. About betrayal masked as loyalty. About love that had once burned bright and then turned to ash. One night, he confessed the truth. "I wasn't always alone," he said, staring into his glass. "I was married to a woman who loved the idea of me more than the man. When the money came, so did the lies. When she left, she took half my fortune, and all my trust." Clara listened, not interrupting. "I decided then," he continued, "that eating alone was safer than sharing a table with someone who might count the silver." She surprised him by smiling gently. Not everyone is hungry for money, she said. Some people are just hungry to be seen. Weeks passed. Seasons shifted. Alexander began ordering dessert. Once, he laughed, really laughed, when Clara teased him for pretending not to like chocolate cake. Then, one evening, she didn't show up. Another waiter served him, awkward and rushed. Alexander felt an unexpected tightness in his chest. He asked casually where Clara was. Quit, the waiter said. Didn't come in today. The words hit harder than any business loss. Alexander paid and left, the city colder than usual. He told himself it didn't matter. People left, that was life, but he didn't return the next Thursday. Or the one after. Instead, he found himself standing outside a small hospital, clutching a bouquet of flowers he didn't remember buying. He'd asked the manager for Clara's address under the pretense of a complaint. Old habits of power died hard. He found her in the hallway, exhausted, eyes rimmed red. You came, she whispered, stunned. I was worried, he said simply. Her mother passed away 3 days later. At the funeral, Alexander stood quietly at the back, unseen and unannounced. When Clara's knees buckled, he was there, steadying her. No cameras, no headlines, just presence. In the weeks that followed, something new grew between them, not rushed, not forced. Dinners became shared, first in public, then private. Laughter replaced silence. Trust, rebuilt brick by brick. But revenge, like love, has a long memory. One night, Alexander received an invitation to a gala hosted by his ex-wife. She had remarried, flaunting a lifestyle built partly on what she'd taken from him. The press would be there. So would everyone who once pitied him. He asked Clara to come. She hesitated. I don't belong in that world. He took her hand. You're the only reason I want to be there. At the gala, whispers followed them. The billionaire and the waitress. Eyes judged. Smiles cut. When his ex-wife approached, dripping in diamonds, her gaze lingered on Clara with open disdain. This is unexpected, she said. Alexander smiled, calm and lethal. So was learning the value of honesty, he replied. Later that night, he announced a major philanthropic project, funding hospitals, fair wages, education for service workers. The room buzzed. His ex-wife's smile froze. The empire she once helped tear apart was now being rebuilt on principles she could never buy into. As cameras flashed, Alexander looked at Clara. For the first time in years, he wasn't dining alone. And the woman who once owned half his wealth realized she had never owned his heart at all.